Hi, this is Mashnu and I want to do my daily 20 minutes exercise. So once more, the idea is to open the database and then choose a game at random. I'll take this one, Karpov against Istratescu, 2004, last 63 moves. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to move forward and like that to a moment in the middle game, like for example something without captures and without big threats. Okay, like this here. Okay, I'll stick to this position now. The idea is that now we think for 20 minutes. The last move of black was Queen to e7, and we have several options for white, so we're going to think for 20 minutes now, and I'll talk while I'm thinking, and I'll start now my timer, so I'm sure that I think for 20 minutes and not less. The idea behind these 20 minutes is that you force yourself to really think deeply about the position, about the different plans for white, and the counter plans of black, and what the best move should be. Now let's first assess the position, because we see here a symmetrical pawn structure, in the sense that there's only one open file, the B file, and the material is equal. So this B file is going to be important. Both kings are safe, and another imbalance is that we both have the light square bishop, and black's pawns in the center are on light square, so eventually a endgame could be favorable for white. But I think first, there is another thing that attracts my mind, and that is the pawn on a5. The rook on a8 is bound to defend this pawn on a5, so this means that the idea behind black's last move, queen to e7, could be to play queen to b4, inviting white to trade on b4, and after a takes b4, the rook on a8 becomes suddenly a very active attacking piece, because it's putting the pawn on a2 under pressure. That means that if we want to stop this, we could do different things. One of them is play a3, controlling b4, but then we would give the option to black to play rook to b8. No, it's not true, because then a5 would be hanging. Well, rook f to b8, then I play rook d to b1. Well, anyway, that's a candidate move, a3. Another candidate move could be to remove this bishop from e4, so we can play rook to b1. Oh, by the way, in the last variation that I thought about, rook b1 is not possible by white, because the bishop on e4 is guarding b1. So that means that after a3, rook f to b8, we need to take on e4, and after knight takes e4, the knight on e4 is attacking the queen on c3. It's not that easy. This bishop on e4, I first said it's probably a bad bishop, but it's actually, at the moment, since we are not yet in the endgame but in the middle game, is a strong piece placed on that diagonal, especially because it controls b1, and that's the square where white would like to have a rook. Let's see. Another idea to prevent queen to b4 could be to close the pawn structure by playing c5, and then it would be nice if we could have a knight on b6 or on d6. but it's not easy to enter there. To go to b6, my knight would have to go to b1, c3, a4, b6. Let's see, do we have any other possible plans? One other idea could be to play bishop to d3 in order to trade these bishops. Now I know that in the endgame I would like to have a light square bishop, but right now we could justify this because then we can control the b1 square again. So a3 is one of the options, bishop to d3 could be an option, and perhaps it looks a bit risky, but perhaps playing f3 and e4. f3 attacking the bishop. If the bishop goes to g6, then we could play e4. If d takes e4, f takes e4, and we have a strong center, the diagonal for the black bishop is closed, so we can continue later with perhaps bishop d3 and then rook to b1. So I think it's important. I mean, the b file is absolutely important. We need to do something about that. So I would say we really need to work on controlling the b1 square. So this bishop on e4 must be chased away from there. So thus, in that sense, I would say a3 is not a good idea. a3 is probably too slow. a3, then he plays rook f to b8. And controls the b file. So now the counterpart about f3 and e4, that idea, that plan, is that the position of my king could become a bit weaker. But can he make use of that? Let's start calculating. f3. If queen to b4, then he loses a piece because I trade queens and then I take on e4. So after f3 he has no in-between moves. He needs to move the bishop away from there. That bishop can actually only go to g6, because if he goes to f5 it doesn't make sense because I advance my e4 pawn, winning a tempo. So after f3 bishop to g6 is more or less forced, and then I continue with my plan playing e4. After e4 I'm prepared to play rook to b1. This looks good. f3, bishop g6, e4. If it takes on e4, I take again. So d takes e4, f takes e4. Now let's see if something happens with the g4 square at the moment, because after f takes e4 the g4 square becomes available for black, but it cannot really use it. I mean, knight to g4 doesn't make really sense. It doesn't have any direct threat, and I don't need to be afraid of something like queen to g5 and queen to h5. It's too slow, I think, and I can always defend the second rank with rook to e2. f3, bishop g6, e4, take, and then what? What can he do then? Well, taking on e4 is not forced, of course. After f3, bishop g6, e4, he doesn't need to take on e4. And his bishop is not well placed then, because it has no place to move. So what else can he do instead of taking on e4? Is there anything for him? So f3, bishop g6, e4, and then he could play queen to b4. Queen to b4. So his initial plan, if I take on b4, a takes b4, my pawn on a2 is attacked. And if I play then rook to b1, he could take on a2, I could take on b4, and his rook on a2 attacks my knight on d2. Okay, so this is an argument. This move queen to b4 is an argument to really think a bit deeper before playing f3. But let's go again through this variation. f3, bishop g6, e4, queen to b4. Can I do anything else than taking? Perhaps queen to c2. It's not really a nice move to do. Well, perhaps it's possible. Queen c2. If he continues with rook to b8, I play simply rook to b1, because then the diagonal is closed for the black bishop. And after rook to b1, he would have to go back with his queen, or go with his queen to a3. Interesting. And let me look again what happens after queen trade. So the complete variation: f3, rook, bishop g6, e4, queen to b4. Take, a takes b4. Can I then somehow defend my a2 pawn so I can later attack the pawn on b4? I must not forget that at that point my knight on d2 and my rook on e1 are bound to stay defending the e4 pawn. The position is more complicated than I thought at first sight. Now there is another idea. If we combine both plans, so playing f3, bishop g6, and then b4. If he, I mean a3, controlling b4. So f3, bishop g6, a3, controlling b4, preventing queen to b4. Then he can play the rook from f8 to b8, and then I should close this diagonal by playing e4, preparing rook to b1. But after e4, in that position, he could continue with a4. Oh no, he cannot enter on b3 with a rook, because my knight is on d2 guarding that square. So this looks better. So combining f3 and a3 both. Now there is another variation, candidate move that we haven't considered at all. I did mention it in the beginning, that is closing the pawn structure by playing c5, because up to now I like the idea of playing f3 and after bishop to g6 playing a3. But if we play c5 now, just as being the first move, c5, preventing queen to b4. That's the idea. And then he plays rook f2 b8. Then we could continue with f3, bishop to g6, e4. Then I like this because his queen is then not very active. I want to prevent the queen coming to b4. So c5 could be an idea. Of course, also the move order f3 as first move, and bishop g6 and then c5 is also an option. On the other hand, the square c5 could be useful for my knight by playing knight to b3 and then knight to c5. Is that an idea? So, more ideas and plans are arising. If I play f3 first, bishop to g6 and then knight to b3, with the idea of going to the knight to c5. Let's see. If he plays queen to b4, queen b4 is in all the variations a good move for black. So I think this is not a good idea, placing the rerouting the knight to c5, because I don't have time. Let me see how much thinking time I have left. 4 minutes. Okay. Is there anything else? Is there anything else that we could do? Any new idea? Another thing that I mentioned was to trade the bishops, but that's not a good idea. If bishop d3, then he takes on d3, I take back on d3, and then again his queen enters on b4. No, because then I have rook to b1. Oh, wait a minute. So bishop d3, bishop takes d3, queen takes d3, rook to b8, rook to b1, or even c5. But then I will have traded my good bishop for the endgame. So I want to keep this light square bishop for in case that an endgame comes. Okay, I think I would go here for f3. f3 in combination with a3. So first f3, bishop g6, and a3. That would be my my choice. And after that, with the idea of continuing with e3, e4, in order to have the b1 square for my rook, and later, if possible, doubling up the rooks on the b file, controlling the most important squares. To do that, it would be necessary to first play bishop to d3 to have the e4 pawn well defended. Yeah. So my moves, let's say that the white moves would be f3, a3, e4, bishop d3, rook to b1, then rook to b2 or b6, followed by rook e to b1. That would be the plan. and then of course we would need to calculate according to, after black replies, keep checking if this plan needs adjustment or can go on like this. Okay, let's see. I think the time is up now. Yeah, last minute is going in, so I'll have a look at how the game continued. Really. So here it comes. The next move of white played by Karpov was knight takes e4. He took. Oh, I rejected that because of knight takes e4. That's exactly what happened in the game. And then the queen is attacked, queen to c2. So white, Karpov, didn't mind losing his knight and giving the knight of black this square e4. h4 was played, bishop to g2, and then rook to b1. Okay, so the idea of getting rid of this bishop to control the b1 square happened, but in a way that is different than what I was thinking about, because black got now the e4 square for his knight. This is how the game continued. Let me go, well, just let's have a look a little longer about what happened here, because black has active play here. Let's have a look. I'll go back now and I'll put the engine on. Let's see what Fritz 10 says about this position. This was the position, wasn't it? Yes, after queen to e7. So engine goes on now. Alright, and it says now different moves are possible. It says here one of them is f3, another one is knight takes e4, another one is h3. Why would we want to play h3 here? To control the g4 square. And rook to c1, it says, is also an option. Rook c1. Well, rook c1 makes sense if the plan would be to open up the c file. Well, I'm happy that f3 is also mentioned as one of the options, and the difference in valuation of the different positions is very small, so it's all actually equal, and some moves get a minus 0.007 for f3, and for rook c1 is minus 0.05, so it's almost no difference. And knight takes e4, it says 0.02. So let's with the engine have a look at the variation that I was thinking about. So to play f3, bishop g6 is practically the only move, and here I wanted to play a3, and the computer says that a3 is not a good move. But why? I wanted to play a3. Then it says that c5, or a4, or rook f to d8. c5, c takes d5, c takes d4, queen takes d4, and e takes d5. Yeah, then the idea of good bishop, bad bishop goes away completely, and this bishop becomes a very active piece on this diagonal. So that means that white doesn't come to play e4 as I wanted. So here after a3, in my calculations, in my next move would be e4. But if he plays c5, then this whole idea of e4 falls apart. So I didn't. Thus, let's say the empty space in my calculation was that in this position I didn't consider c5, and of course it's it's a move to consider here. It's a good move, opening the whole center. Okay, another idea that I had in the first place was, instead of playing a3 here, to continue immediately with e4, and that is, according to Fritz, the best move here. So my direction of thinking was not that terrible. Takes. I had prepared f takes e4, but Fritz thinks knight takes e4 is stronger, activating this knight, still blocking this diagonal. Knight takes e4. And now if black wants to get rid of this bad bishop, we can take here, then f takes e4. This position is nice for white, I think. It, according to the evaluation of the computer, it says equal, but I like this beautiful center and the possibility of controlling the b file later. Black could attack the center right now with e5. I could go e5, rook d8. Now taking here is not such a good idea because this pawn is very weak and c4 is also weak. So this could be also another way of continuing the game. So okay, summarizing my ideas, my thoughts were, well, not that bad, in the sense that here my plan of playing f3 and e4 was not bad, but Karpov played knight takes e4, and my idea of playing f3 followed by a3 is a wrong thing. By the way, something else that I want to look at is, after f3, bishop g6 e4, isn't queen to b4 a strong move? Because that's the reason why I wanted to play a3. So here queen to b4 isn't that good? Well, according to Fritz, white has a slight advantage here after queen to e3. So allowing the queen to b4. Okay, I understand, because later we can play rook to b1 and this queen must go away from the b file. Yeah, that's true. So queen to b4 was not such a big threat after playing e4, because then queen to e4 is a good move. Still, the position is well, the advantage for white is very small according to the engine. We have this strong center, but black can try to attack it. All right, well, I'll leave it up to here now, and it's entertaining and interesting to do this exercise every day, just every day. Okay, thanks for watching, guys, and see you next time on YouTube. Goodbye.